welcome back to Terraria. Things are downloading from last time. Here, 'cause I'm trying to knock off this, I guess, week 1. Or 1.2. But at the same time, I mean, the game's been out. Time of recording. Been out for just over 48 hours now, and I have about 13 hours of recording, so I think I've been doing pretty good. Some of my content has been less than, but at the same time, I'm gonna skip that note as well. Some of it hasn't been as useful. Scribble as it. I'm using the wrong lighting instruction. As you can see, I don't like to use the color. Amazing. And it actually seems to be better. Like, the colors are brighter than normal. But, well, why should I mix up my light? Harder to see, harder to play in. If the item effects weren't as strong, the colored lights, never go into, like, even if you have, like, a light bulb, like a colored light bulb in your room, yeah, your whites look like they have a red tinge to them, but they don't turn. And basically the same. Even if you have a colored light in your house, is a different color, it sort of changes the tinge, not item look complete. One of the first things I was thinking, back to the temple and pick up my junk, if it's still there. My armor. Which gives me mana usage and critical chance items. And it still does work for my space gun, because my space gun isn't free. As you can see, mana usage, well, it does use up mana, as horrible. I'll probably use a Vile Thorn now. Nicer, and it has a higher crit chance now. 13, so you both have a crit chance. But Balthorn does a multi-hit, hits multiple times, as Laser pretty much just has a... Both of them do have their benefits. I'm not downgrading either of them. Anyway, I also did pick up my Knight's Edge. Knight's Edge is the... At least it was, and I believe it still is, the most powerful... Like the most powerful. Of course. This game has mode and cores. Core is like how your character's designed. Soft core, if you die, you just drop some of your cash and you're fine. Have medium core. Medium core, where when you die, you'll drop your item, but your character still, there's character and character progression still remain. So basically, every time you die, you gotta go pick up your shit again. And then you have hardcore, where when you die, you're dead. I just wanted to make sure, like, the way honey works. Yeah. Like, I never, well, not gravity, but never checked about the whole honey. But bees. I was saying, there's something called crisp. Like, crisp. I can actually look at the real name. Trying to figure out how to make it. Okay, apparently crispy honey blocks are made by lava and honey. I haven't actually made buckets yet. Terraria buckets aren't exactly a necessity. If I was playing Minecraft, like, buckets are the first skill item. They're still in Terraria. Yeah. Guide. Kinda miss that stuff. I like the name stuff. Anyway, yeah, so I need to figure out a way to get honey and lava and togetherness all in one sequence. Which isn't exactly a hard thing to do. Don't get me wrong, it's not exactly harder. I can set down a tree right over here, make a... It's not exactly hard to do. Most part, what I'm doing this time is just trying to get down to my temple. Now that I know how to make honey, basically just skip. Is very... I want to say it's important, but I'm getting, like, stuff that isn't important from it. It's more of a... But basically, there are these items called extractors that allow you to get... literally get things that don't exist in your... out of some... You also can get stuff like... Not exactly objects that are rare. As you can see, here's a lot. You remember, I have blocked out my obsidian or lava arm. much. Literally just a few hours ago, I was got back. Not exactly used to it, no. Or anyone who saw the last vid, I got into a fight with the... No big deal. I mean, you kind of expect the Wall of Flesh to kill you the first time. Pretty much all bosses, you kind of expect them to kill you. I mean, if you're playing constantly and, like, bouncing between different worlds, that kind of goes away. But for a general player, pretty much expect everything to kill you the first time. Just because there are certain things. I'm keeping my, like, even though I picked up another extractor, I'm keeping my silt as silt. Knocking it into a bunch of different floors is a much less effective style of carrying it. Each individual floor will need its own individual. Each individual floor would need its own slot to hold things in. I wonder if I can bucket honey. That looks like honey. Oh, that's a temple. Or it's not quite as... Guess I can do my objective. Be logical. lava is now all. Not liking the lava on the floor seems to be my fault. More than enough time to. Remember the way my item works? I have a breath bar, some similar thing. This time it's a lava bar. Basically, I have to charge it up. Just a little bit. Have a nice little handful of gold. Yeah. Let him live. Now, back to what I was saying. So yeah, I've already fought the wall of split. I haven't defeated it though. That's what we're working on now, is gearing up to be able to defeat the wall. Exactly. The worst I can do. Around your house, can't you? definitely don't want to get rid of that food. Not exactly sure why it's in my inventory. An anvil. Or a bucket. Now we're heading back to a beehive to... Sorry, my voice is getting a little worse there. Back to a beehive to set up some burning honey. Heading back to one of the beehives. Three of them? Three. Covered two. There should be some more in there. I just haven't gotten to them yet. Sadly enough, I kind of gotta go all the way to the top one. Bottom one has been modified. Actually, no, I can do the bottom one. Bottom one does still have a little bit. Hearing me talk for... What else can we do? Talk a little bit about current events, public affairs. I don't know, that just kind of seems... I'm trying to think of a talking point that isn't political, that isn't completely outside of the range of just a random talking point. It's a little bit weird, but... That stuff, like right now, politically, these aren't talking points because... Some stuff going on right now in politics the Obamacare stuff, all that Obamacare stuff. So basically, Obamacare went in. Don't know if you're not American. Obamacare is, well, it's the President Barack Obama's attempt to a complete. He's either got to be the stupidest person to understand medicine or the smartest to understanding people. Don't get me wrong, I'm not talking against socialized medicine here. I'm not one of those people who are like, well, if you can't afford medical care, then you don't deserve it. No, like, everybody deserves medical care. Medicine is science that of the people. Literally. Look at all the people who have died in medical research. Not even just the straight up, well, these were just accidental. Like, literally, people have, a lot of our medical knowledge has come from people who have lost their lives. What was it? Like, there was a weapons research lab in Japan, or actually it was in China, but it was a Japanese weapon research lab during World War II. Can't remember what its name is. Yeah, in that weapon research lab, there were a group of about, some estimate upwards 1,000 or more Japanese medical doctors and scientists performing experiments on humans. Now, of course, these are bad things, but there was an American doctor, like, he was one of the big shot doctors. I can't remember what his position was. This whole, like, all this information coming from a history class I took back in a previous major, half a dozen years ago. No, yeah, it was about 5 years ago now that I took that course. Yeah, he basically, he went through it and he had a discussion with the president at the time. It was like, hey, we could actually give these guys a pass because, yeah, they killed people. Some of the people they were doing their tests on weren't dead while they were doing their test on it. Practice known as vivisection, bisection. Well, you have deep dissection, basically is cutting open a dead body. Have vivisection or bisection. I've heard it pronounced both ways, that's why I'm saying it both ways, and the people who pronounced it both ways were my professors. It was really awkward when you're sitting there with two different professors in two different classes saying the exact same word with two different pronunciations. That's mostly just a language barrier thing. In short, study is, well, in a dissection, you cut open a dead person or a dead animal to find out how it ticks. Now, bisection, you cut open a living thing to see how it's still ticking. Medically, vivisections are, they have more fruitful results. And as a student, we would perform them on animals for, like, it's kind of stitching practice, surgery practice. It's better to do, like, you have your dummies that you start with. But then you have your, well, before we let you cut up a person, we're going to let you cut up a pig, and etc., etc. So, it's a process that many people think is archaic. Personally, I think it's a little bit better than dissection. At least dissection, or in dissection, you have to kill. A proper bisection, you're actually not killing it. A lot of what students do, like, a lot of students, instead of dissecting frogs, will actually bisect frogs, and then kill the frog. That's not exactly the best way to do it. At the same time, you get to see the frog's heart beating. There's no other way to do that. Even using electricity on a recent port doesn't completely start the full circular port system. So, it has its benefits. At the same time, there are some drawbacks, but if it's done properly, and with proper supervision and proper care, the drawbacks are minimal. It's very easy to prevent dying during a bisection. Because, well, bisections are performed thousands of times all over the world. We just call them surgery. I have no clue why my voice just it's over. Anyway, but yeah, as I was saying, this Japanese medical doctors and scientists were performing these on animals and on people. Some of them were straight up, they do things like, I'm trying not to say anything that would be cut off limbs. No big deal, really. I mean, everybody's had their arm cut off once or twice. But at the same time, them doing that, they were cutting them off, they were sewing them back on, they were changing which sides, they cut both of somebody's arms off, and then swapped the right and left arms. They did that. That's what they did, and because of doing that, we have medical knowledge. We can now replace your toe, or your thumb with your toe, if something happens to it. Why? At some point in time, somebody thought it would be a smart idea. Back down here with a bunch of more. How many make this? It takes 3. I'm not gonna do that at the moment. Anyway, as I was saying, and in general, just because of that singular act of cutting someone's arm off and sewing it back on the other side to see if it still works, as horrible as that sounds, well, that's why are able to replace some body parts, other body parts, move them around. It is in general it's one of those things that is so horrible, but has so much in medicine. Okay, some of the other things they did were non-human blood transfusion. Just some simple things like that. I don't want to get into some of them because some of them were created by sections and just kind of let people sit about how long they would last and stuff. I'm gonna keep with the anyway, so continue. Some of the items they most countries decided almost unanimously. The only one that didn't agree was that they should drop the war crime charges just because of the benefits that very awkward thing when you can walk into a room and be like, yeah, this guy killed hundreds of thousands of people. Let him walk because that's probably going to end up saving millions. Probably sounds a little bit like on either side of that. But lives is really good. I believe the term is a necessary. As it is, sometimes bad things need to happen so they can happen. Iron ore. And copper ore. What I'm pretty much going to do with my common metals like this, get them up 99 and then do things craft them. Back at 99. Like, interesting. You know what bucket. Not as good a text message. Just a YouTube message. Anyway, as I was saying, yeah. My point being, medicine is a science. Lives to be saved by medicine. Other people to be saved by medicine. In basic results. Medical discovery that we have that wasn't caused or created by a child or an adult, just another human lives, possibly even dying to get. One big one that is news is, well, the first little girl who was saved by intravenous feeding. Yeah, she was born with a problem, like she was born completely malnourished, and she would die without being intravenous. Well, the idea of feeding her intravenously didn't come from her. They didn't just be like, oh my god, this little girl can't eat, and try something new. We're gonna pull this out of our asses. No, they didn't do that. Intravenous feeding, a pet project of I can't remember the name of the guy who made it, but it was his pet project for probably about 20 years before. He did like a little speech thing that I got to listen to one time. Yeah. He was looking at it, and there were people in their hospital beds, like coma patients and sick and disabled, dying, not because of they were dying, not because of anything that was like they weren't dying because of their illnesses. People in comas don't die because of coma, but they were dying because of the fact that they weren't being able, or they were unable to be fed. try to get some guy who's asleep to open his mouth so you can shove food in it. Now think about the guy who's been asleep for 10 years. Yeah, there's that thing. But yeah, so going through with it, yeah, you kind of get what I'm saying. He was trying to develop a way to feed people out. One of the ways he developed. There were a few other ones that weren't as successful. I'm trying to remember exactly what one of them. One of them was literally like a 4 ounces sauce down their throat into their stomach kind of feeding. I can't remember what it was called. That's literally about how it was done. Hey, we're gonna take you into the hospital. We're gonna put a tube down your throat, and then we're gonna pour like applesauce in. I say applesauce, but it's not. It's more of a medical jelly. Vitamins, minerals, and stuff like that. But looks and smells kind of acts like applesauce. But anyway, yeah, it's like they took it, pouring it into their stomach. So if I remember right with that one, it didn't actually work. Like, the body doesn't start digesting until you eat. Like, it does some generalized digesting, but if you haven't eaten in a couple, like, if you haven't physically taken and chewed it up and swallowed it last month, your stomach's, like, not gonna be producing large enough amounts of acid to digest anything of potential size. Buckets with honey. All of them. Yeah, so continuing on. But he just happened to be working on an interview when the girl was born. I'm not going into any of the whole, like, well, some people think of that version of it. That little girl was born. Doctors are scared of being born. And, my honest opinion, if a doctor thinks that hurting someone in order to save more lives is necessary, it's fruitful, right thing to do. It, and one of those necessary. I mean, no one wants to admit that hurting people is sometimes hurting somebody now could save dozens of lives. I mean, hell, if you had the chance, would you go back in time and kill Hitler? And it kind of boils down to something very simple. Cure cancer? Well, I could see killing a couple to find a cure for cancer. I'm sure anybody who's had somebody in their lives who's either suffered from or especially died from cancer have very it's like, now of course if it's just like, hey, I'm just gonna go kill this guy and then I'm gonna cure cancer because I'm yeah, we're not talking like that. We're talking like actual, like, well, they died in the study, but at the same time, they that led to the key. Off a bunch of buckets. Now I'm gonna have a bunch of buckets around my house for no good. Anyway, back on the bigger subject that I keep kind of alluding to, but that is plain and simple. My follow-ups or my start statement would be completely doing. I'm gonna need some charge. Oh, I need hive piece too. Going through with it. Medical discoveries made from human sacrifice. Human. Now, at the same other things. Of course, medicine. Like, you remember, right? I'm talking about the socializing. Well, people should be able to benefit. All people should be able to benefit. People sacrifice their lives for people to. At the same time, my medical care in the U.S. is so fucked up. I'm not even gonna pretend I was like, no, I meant to say fun. No, it's complete. The reason why is because we have an HMO battle. We are currently in a war. Current war between and the average person, the person who's on the sidelines, the person who's suffering. Well, what's happening is, if you look at any other place in the world, I'm trying to think of some good places in the world. Another country in the world. Let's just use Canada as an example, because Canada's pretty dang close to America. An angiogram. Well, if I was in Canada, that angiogram would cost me roughly 60 to 80 bucks. America, it's roughly 600 bucks. The reason for that is because hospitals have to upcharge drastically. And that's because HMOs have an agreement where they only pay cents what they need done. They only pay 30% of what their bill to pay is. They do claim to have reasons for that, but most of their reasons are bupkis. Yeah, as I was saying, most of their reasons are just shit. Basically, they say that the medical device that's in use, not paying the doctor. That's usually what you're paying the doctor. That's why different places have different copays. Pay their doctors different amounts. Now, that's not a universal truth, but it's kind of one of those half dozen of the other truths. But yeah, continuing on that fact, so I'm going to be converting part of this for ease of access mostly. Anyway, as I was saying, so yeah, the reason why it's so expensive medical care in the U.S. because of it's because the hospitals charge a lot, but hospitals are charging a lot because jobs aren't paying them to do their jobs. So it kind of turns into I screw you. But the problem is that we're the ones getting screwed. Well, give me a second to... so, because of this, hospitals raise their prices. HMOs raise their prices. Well, what we currently have now is, well, you're likely to get sick, your chances of getting a medical coverage are much lower. There are ways to get covered, but harder than it should. Cancer at some point in time. Likelihood of getting care pretty much revolves around a cancer insurance. They actually do have them. A lot of people don't. Actually, a current picture going around Facebook that's like, oh my god, it's like, yeah, you're bitching because Obama's requiring medical care, but it allowed me to get medical insurance because I had cancer and I had a pre-condition existing. Well, that's not true because there actually are. If you go to any of the cancer societies, same with like heart problems, if you go to any of those societies that are designed to help those people, they'll hook you up. They will help you get set up with, help you get insurance. So, it's not cheap. I'm not gonna lie. It's usually like, what would normally be a $30 policy is now a $700 policy. Same thing. I'm a bit of dramatic flair, never hurt anybody. Yeah, where it would be a small price, it's now a big price. It does exist. That. But yeah, so going through with it, it is one of those. Oh, people are getting screwed. And what's even worse is everybody's like, well, hey, at the same time, what if I don't get insurance, right? If I'm uninsured, then maybe the hospital will be like, hey, you're not one of those dicks who's screwing us over with insurance. Well, they can't do that because, well, as we've already said, HMOs, like your insurance only pays 30%. Well, you can't get a 70% discount for being uninsured. You actually get a, like, what is it, 100 and... Like, if you're going from insured to being uninsured, you get 100 and... 60%? 170%? One second, let me pull out my calculator and do a little bit of math. Dang it, slimes, go away. Oh, correction. My brain doesn't work. You basically get a 330% increase for not being insured. Now, the reasoning behind this is pretty simple, and a lot of people don't think so. It does make sense. Basically, what it is whenever you deal with bills, since the hospital knows they're only going to be paying, or only of the work, they tell you they're being paid 30%. So something that would cost you $100 if you're uninsured costs you $30 if you're insured. But at the same time, it's still a $100 test. It's cheaper because you're paying them less, not because it magically costs less for you. Kind of like using a coupon. They ring you up full price first, and then they make the deduction. Someday soon, this will turn into a jungle biome, which will grow trees and stuff like that. That's the reason why I do that. Anyway, as I was saying, so continuing on, basically, if you've been listening, yeah, that's basically what's going on. Is you have people from the hospitals who are saying, "Hey, we need money to do," and then you have people from the HMOs who are saying, "Hey, you don't need that much money to do that." And then you have people who are caught in the crossfire saying, "I don't care who uses what money, somebody fucking help me." Uh-oh. Yeah, that's the problem. Well, what Obamacare does is it makes a national mandate of what is and isn't insurable, what the payments are and are not. But at the same time, anybody who looks at it with 2 seconds of thought can tell it pretty much fucks over the system. If you look at it, well, you either end up paying, like, if you want to keep your same old coverage, you end up paying almost 300% than you would have their normal annual gain. Which, okay, yeah, insurance companies, as we've already said, are dicks. Chance that would have happened anyway, but still, dicks are dicks, and when they're being more dickish, it's... but at the same time, what it does allow, or what it does do, is it changes that there's now a national health insurance, and it also helps that people with are now more eligible for generalized medical insurance instead of specialized medical insurance. Well, the problem with this is that it's a very horrible system. Socialized medicine, which is what most of the world has its drawbacks. One of the biggest drawbacks is, let's look at the UK. UK and the US are very similar. They speak the same base language. One uses a actual democracy. It's not the US. Whereas the other uses a republic, which is democracy, but at some point in time, somebody needs to start teaching kids that republics and democracies are not the same. But that's another story. Well, in the UK, they have socialized medicine. Well, the UK has I believe it's currently a 60% income tax. US, there's a variable income tax. This is one of the problems with our country, is plain and simple. Rich people, like, let's put it this way, last year my income was $17 for the year. That was my paid income, $17 for the year, because I had a couple of hours, or I had a bonus on a paycheck for a job that I didn't work on, or it happened after fiscal started. Basically, like, I took my 2 week notice in, and like, I didn't have any hours on the clock because I was leaving, and they weren't going to give me hours because, hell, I was leaving. Well, they didn't give me any hours, so I didn't work, but a bonus went in through my store, so I got a couple of extra dollars. It came out to something like $25, and then after taxes it came out to about $16. Yeah, so no big deal. Just that's barely. Well, actually no, that's enough to buy a couple of hamburgers, a couple of cheeseburgers, but not really enough to do much. Well, continuing on. Continuing on, I had to pay, like, my taxes, I ended up paying, from my $16 paycheck, I ended up paying, I mean, yeah, it's $4, big whoop. That's 40% of my paycheck. That's 40% of my annual income. Now, at the same time, there's a clause, I can't remember what it's named. Basically, I didn't make enough money to have to actually pay into taxes, but like, if I would have actually paid in, that's how much I would have had to pay in. I didn't make enough, and because they took it out of my paycheck, I think I actually ended up making like $3 back on my return. So again, we're talking like small single-digit numbers, but in percentage-wise, they're big leaps. Yeah, at the same time, yeah, someone famous, someone who's rich and famous, Mitt Romney, he ran for president under the fact that he's rich. Well, he paid in 20% of his total income last year into his taxes because he was officially unemployed for the entire year. He was making a couple $1 million a frickin' week. Speeches every time he'd go to give a speech or do a meet and greet at a radio station, he'd make like $1 million almost in appearance fees, but officially unemployed. How did a guy who literally has an income of over $1 million a week happen to pay in less money than a guy who is physically chopping wood? That could be interesting. Yeah, that's one of our problems. So going through with that, and I'm not saying that somebody else is doing it right and we're doing it wrong. It's something that we got to figure out because we're different. One of the problems is that we're different, so it does kind of become a little bit of a so yeah. Socialized medicine is literally the primary reason why the UK has such a higher tax rate. Right? Because, well, they have to pay, the government ends up thing that happens. So they put it into taxes because if they're gonna flip the bill, you're gonna pay for it. Well, that sounds great and all. The system, the Obamacare system, taxes because you're actually paying a bill. But at the same time, there is still going to be some taxation from it, just not nearly as high. Which apparently is enough to get enough. Because it kind of shows how uneducated people are. Well, one of the bigger problems inside of all that is simple. As much as it can, doesn't speak that it can. They're basically in a service that already exists platform. They're saying, hey, we understand the HMO system is up right now, so let's do our version of it. That's not how you fix things. Nintendo's never gone up to somebody, hey, I see your video game system, like your video game console is broken. So let's rebrand it as a Nintendo product and see if that works. No, that's not gonna work. No one in their right mind, especially in a business, ever say something like that. All item there I really wanted. That's not. Actually, it's really fast. I probably have a water. I probably sold like half a dozen water and free. Anyway, as I was saying, current system, and Obama has put up plans for a system that works just about as well. Try this out. Okay, so basically you can have its uses, not. Anyway, so the system he's proposed is not what doesn't. But in my opinion, what I think's happening is version doesn't work. That he can kind of trick people. Something else I would do. Trying to get a certain form of legislation to go through, but people aren't signing it due to uneducation. That would be to scare them into it. So I guess an equivalent would be like, I want to sign my Give Little Kids Machine Guns Act. So here, how about this? Give well-educated and properly trained adults Machine Guns Act. Well, of course you don't want to give kids guns, so you're in such an outrage about giving little kids guns that you're not going to realize you just signed an act about giving normal people guns, or taking away their guns. That would be more likely. Another argument for another time. I need to put a torch here. But yeah, so it's kind of one of those things that, like, that's what he's doing, then he's a dick. I'm just gonna stay straight up. That's what he's doing, but it's gonna work. He's going to be in such an outrage over the fallouts that are being caused by Obamacare, that they're gonna flock to socialized medicine. Trying to get socialized medicine in, that's what's gonna happen. Other than, like, there are some benefits to this version. You pay taxes on it, and be a benefit, because no one really likes paying more money. There are enough people who don't understand why taxes are a thing anyway. By giving them a 200% raise to their tax dues, it's not really a good way to stay in. Make them think that raising their taxes is their idea, have a much better chance. Yeah. The government HMO is good because it doesn't raise the national taxes nearly as much as socialized medicine. You have the choice to opt in or opt out of it. but at the same time, where you have choice, well, have that much choice because, hey, I can opt in to I can opt out of it, so I don't have to pay money into it. If I remember right, you get a small. Might have changed that. It's been a little bit since it's gone through a couple of iterations. But anyway, as I was saying, yeah, so you can opt in and out. It lowers the amount of tax being raised, and just plain it easier on the budgets of people who are having trouble making it growth. That's kind of one of the problems. We have a lot of lower class citizens. Actually, kind of a funny thing. I was talking to someone. I was helping them with a sociology project, I believe. How it's awkward that America's like such a grand country, and like everybody proclaims that America's the greatest country in the world, but it has like the most, like, other than China, it has like the most lower income / like not enough income to physically survive. I can't remember the name of that, but the poverty limit. That's what it is. It's like you have so many people living under the poverty limit in the United States of America compared to every other country. Then I just happen to be forced to remind him that you happen to have so many more people living in the United States of America than you do in. I'm not trying to bash any European country, but just about every European country they can claim all they want about numbers. But most European countries are outpopulated by some of our bigger cities. New York has a higher population than many European countries, and that's a singular city. Now, of course, it's not like actually New York is physically bigger, but you just take New York, Dallas, and let's see, I'm trying to think of Los Angeles, California. Right there have the population of most of the smaller EU countries. Add a couple more big cities in there, outpopulated. Every Europe, bigger size, bigger population, and that's one of the reasons why the numbers are so high. It's like, why do we have so many more violent crimes? The U.S. Like, yeah, there's been over, what is it? Like, there's been like 5 more violent crimes in the U.S. this year than there have been days in the year. But per capita, there have been about 30% less violent crimes in the U.S. than there have been in any other country. Take it or leave it. We have more violent crimes by number, but percentage-wise, we have less violent criminals. Reach this living tree. I'm gonna go ahead and I think I'm gonna end this video because I think I've been going on for about an hour.